Welcome to Monster episode 44 through 56. I have to give this anime credit. It is really good. It is really good. Don't fall for people that are telling you that this is bad, that it's slow paced, and that if you say an anime is that bad because it's slow paced and you cannot explain in detail why, you've already outed yourself. If people are complaining about the filler, no, it doesn't work. It's not gonna work on me. For as long as this run of episode 56, it's a 10 out of 10. I do want to sort of address the 1 out of 10 review right now, because I'm actually disappointed in the review, because it's a reviewer that I hold to high regard. So on my anime list, there's a reviewer called Single H. He does the best reviews, better than I could ever do. But he gave Monster a 1 out of 10 because he doesn't like that Johan is a character that lacks real deep motivation. But this user spent like a half hour ranting about that. Not to mention, a large part of the beginning of the review is irrelevant rambling that could have been summed up much sooner. To compare, this user talked about other villains and their motivations, why they're evil or why they do what they do. So Johan, we know, well, by now it's obvious that Johan is an experiment. He's an experiment that was supposed to be made the new Hitler of a new age, because he has the leadership skills, charisma, intelligence to do it. But Johan, he knows he's a monster, and he knew this since he was a kid. And his decision was to die. As was revealed in one of the more recent episodes that I'm going to talk about, he wanted Nina to shoot him in the head. That was supposed to be the end of it. And Tenma had to go in and save him. But this is something that Tenma thinks about a lot, because how is he supposed to know if his patient is good or evil? That's something that he's been thinking a lot about at this point. He has no answer for it yet. As a doctor, all lives are equal. And when he thinks about that, he often thinks back to Eva when she said that all lives are not equal. Tenma is very conflicted. It was very surprising to see Tenma get caught, because I was really wondering how they were going to handle Tenma getting caught. So when he gets caught, something happened that surprised me. A lot of the characters from the side stories came back, from the so-called filler episodes. They all want to show their support to Tenma because they feel he's such a good man. There's no way that he would do something like this. The counselor comes out. You got Nina and Dieter finally coming back into the picture. But I want to do this by going character by character and where they've gone from 44 to 56. So we'll start with Johan. So I took a quick break from Monster to focus on seasonal anime and other things. I come back to episode 44. This is the big reveal that Johan has been cross-dressing as Nina. Now, I will point out that Johan is not physically built the same as Nina, but I'll allow it. I'll let it pass for the anime. I mean, it's unrealistic, but I'll let it pass. When Johan took off that wig, I made such an ugly face because it shocked me. It made sense to me though, because I could not believe that Nina would be willing to do the things that I thought she was doing. In my previous video, I was talking about Nina and how I just cannot believe that she's become a killer. Then, and this is another thing that Monster does that's really impressive. It doesn't just tell you something, it doesn't spoon feed you. A lot of anime spoon feeds you, gives you the answers out front, almost shamelessly. But Monster makes you think. Monster will give you hints and tips and clues. So when something really big happens, you're able to anticipate and predict it. And so when Johan was Nina and going upstairs, I had this feeling, and I thought to myself, "Oh no! Don't tell me that Johan's been cross-dressing as Anna." And then he took off the wig and he let out his second most demonic smile. That's another thing I like about Monster. the manga artist really knows how to draw wicked grins. You see it with Johan multiple times. You see it with Roberto. You see it with Eva. I really like just the creepiness behind the art. There's a recent episode where Nina meets a puppeteer, and he has these puppets that even for me they look very unsettling in how ugly they look. And of course there's the classic art that plays during the picture books. There's more picture books now. There's not just the one with the monster with no name. There's also one about the man with the big mouth and the man with the big eyes. How the devil wants to work with both of them. The man with the big mouth decides to work with the devil, and he has a prosperous garden, lots of ripe fruit, is able to feast. The man with the big eyes does not want to make a deal with the devil, ends up being starved, miserable. But things caught up to the man with the big mouth. Thus, because it was the devil's dealings, his garden ended up withering away, and he cries and says, "I should never have made the deal with the devil." But then on the other side, the man with the big eyes said, "I should have made the deal with the devil." So this is to show how conflicted Johan is. That is the whole point of these picture books. The author of the picture books that had many pen names, he's essentially trying to explain what Johan is, because there's a second story about the god of peace, who is so busy, and who's always busy, and who is so busy he never looks in the mirror, and he is doing good things for the people, sending out fresh water, giving away things, nourishment. Eventually, the god of peace gives all these boys names, but one of them, whose name is Johan, gives him a hat. And so the god of peace puts on the hat, looks in the mirror for the first time ever, and sees that he is now looking like a demon, or you can say the devil. And then the devil tells him that you are me and I am you. And the god of peace says, "I can't do this. There won't be peace like this. There's something that I have to do." And the story ends there. At this point in the anime, the puppeteer is reading this story to Nina, and Nina is slowly regaining her memory by seeing and hearing familiar things. And she tells the puppeteer, "I know what happens next." The gun is aimed and it shoots the forehead, and she remembers that Johan originally told her to shoot him because he is the one that is the devil. Or the devil isn't him, and he's in the devil, and he doesn't want to be this way, and he must die. And that is why Nina shot him. But Tenman ended up... I mean, Tenman didn't know any better, but he ruined this by reviving Johan. As is known, Tenma is innocent, but he feels his only real crime was to save Johan. And he's, like I said much earlier in the video, he is conflicted whether he did the right or wrong thing. He doesn't know. But he does meet a lawyer that tells him that as a lawyer, he's in the same situation. He doesn't know whether his defendants are good or bad. But in the end, what it comes down to is just face. But this lawyer has a father who ends up actually being a spy, which mind breaks him, because the whole point of that lawyer to follow that career and that path in life to save defendants, because he felt so bad that his father died guilty when he was supposed to be innocent. But it turns out his father was guilty, was a spy. And so this lawyer doesn't know who to trust, but he still wants to believe. So I really like this lawyer's story. It's very meaningful. So Johan is cross-dressing as Nina. Starts pulling some strings, killing people. What has come next is the Rose Mansion, which is where a lot of people died. It has a painting of Johan's mom on it, with a letter in back of it, where Johan kind of pours out his love for Nina, which is kind of odd. How Johan sees him, Nina, and his mom all in the same, and he sets the mansion on fire, burns it down, and walks away. But the timeline is kind of going out of order because there's a lot of things happening right now, and I cannot tell what timeline each character is in because it feels so different. But that is Johan. he played the, he played Detective Suck really bad. That was such a tragic story. Now the thing about Johann is, he's an experiment. His motivation is to die. That is what that 1 out of 10 review fails to look at. In fact, that 1 out of 10 review ignored everything about Monster and focused only on Johann's writing is bad. So this one out of 10 review, I think the point of Single H's review is to make people watch Monster. I think Single H secretly likes Monster, but made a 1 out of 10 review because this user knows that a lot of people do not watch Monster, and this user also knows that a lot of people watch only 1 episode and then claim to have completed Monster, and I agree with this too. A lot of people that talk bad about Monster have not finished it, and have not even gone past the first episode. I can tell, because when people badmouth Monster, they never have anything to say. So it's a straight giveaway. It's a straight giveaway. But Johann is motivated by his desire to die because he sees himself as, you know, the monster with no name, and in the end he's consuming himself because he feels like he's the devil, and, you know, like I said before, he's rejected this position of power that's been desired of him, because that's not what he wants, because he knows how ugly he is, and he just despises it so much. At the same time though, Tenma saved him, and so Johann as a result tells Tenma, you made this possible and now you're going to pay for it. So now Johann is staying alive, and he's tracing back the roots of his background, taking out those that he feels need to be taken out. He's going his way. He's going his way. So now Tenma, if you've watched my videos, I often criticize protagonists for being morally obsessed cowards. Tenma is different. He's very different. He sort of appeared that way during the library incident because he didn't fire the shot when he should have. But you have to understand Tenma's morality, because it's very deep. It's very deep. As a doctor, the patient is above everything else. And Tenma is a solid believer in the patient is above everything else, to the extent that, yes, he got caught. He went to prison, but he got out. I'll talk about that, but what I want to point out is that even when Tenma got locked up and escaped, he still was willing to sacrifice his freedom to save a patient that had a brain hemorrhage. And he helps this couple out to go to a hospital. And then when Mulish asks him, "Come with me, you know, I'm an expert in evading the authorities," Tenma says no, because I gotta save a woman. I gotta save a woman. I gotta save somebody. So I really respect the way that Tenma thinks. It's not cowardly. It is respectable. It is very respectable. And I find that very unique in this character, in the way that he is written. So Tenma got caught. He gets locked up with this this grand escapee that always brags about he's always gotten away. And Tenma at this point is locked up. One thing that I really liked about that period in the series is that Lunge finally begins to realize that there's more to this than he thought. That there is a Johanna, there is a monster out there. It's not just Tenma. So when Tenma gets caught and he's getting escorted by the police, Lung is there, just kind of watching. He's kind of watching him, and you know how smug Lung is. He's very smug, and he tells Tenma, "What is the kind of man that doesn't crack? It is a man that makes the same face despite the questions and who says no words." I think that he was trying to tell Tenma that he's acknowledged that there's more to this case than what he thought, and that Tenma should be careful. And that was he was kind of advising him. And I think that he was also telling him he's gonna look for this Johann. So Lunge has finally found the truth. It took him 50 episodes, but Lunge has found the truth, and I really can't wait for him to confront Johann. The way I see it play out, I think that he will confront Johann, but I think that Johann is going to completely break Lunge's mind, because Lunge is a character that has composure. I think Johann is the only one that can break that composure. No, so that I think I do want to finish Teman before I focus on Lunge. I do want to focus on Lunge next. So Tenma is now in prison. He meets this grand escapee artist, and eventually Tenma loses hope. You know, his face becomes very hopeless, gloom and doom. But he finds out that the person that hired his lawyer is a very familiar figure. And I was shocked to see that Roberto is still alive. Roberto is still alive. He lost weight, his voice changed, his hair grayed out, but he's still alive. And I mean, yes, I like Roberto's brutal and evil character. I think he deserved to die when he got shot and fell off the balcony. But him coming back just adds more twists and wild twists and turns to Monster. So Tenma knows that Eva's life's in danger because Roberto wants to kill Eva because she is a witness who saw Johan when Junker and the rest died in the beginning of the series and they thought it was Tenma. So this is why Tenma decides to escape. But he was very clever about it. The Grand Escapee told him that Mulish told him that he leaves in 5 days. So Tenma confessed. Tenma actually confessed to the crimes. And because he was so cooperative, he got shipped out with Mulish. So they're in a van. And when Tenma is being escorted to the van with Mulish, and Tenma looks at Mulish, and Mulish looks at him with a grin, that's when I knew that Tenma still wants to escape, and he wants Mulish's help. And they get in the van, and that's when we're introduced to Mulish's brother, who was supposed to lay on the floor and stop the van, because he was so caught up with his girlfriend, he gets smashed by the van. The van stops. Now here's where it gets kind of contradictory. So the police stop, the driver is like, oh, I hit somebody. And Mulish is like, oh, that was my brother. He was supposed to help us escape. He was supposed to lay on the floor, but he can't time it like I can, because I'm a professional, he's not. Now the police heard this, but they said that they claimed that they didn't get what Mulish meant by that. If I was the police, I would have checked Mulish's brother's body before letting Tenma touch it, because obviously this man is going to be armed. But the police claimed that they didn't know what Mulish was talking about. Maybe he was whispering or murmuring. They didn't hear him clearly. I don't know really. So because Tenma's a doctor, they allow him to look at Mulish's brother, and Tenma notices a gun on the body. Fortunately, the brother is still alive. Tenma gets the gun. He kind of thought about it at first, and he steals the van, leaves the police behind, takes Helena, Mulish's brother, himself, and they drive off. Takes him to the hospital. Decides to go save Eva. He manages to get to the room that Eva was in, but Roberto had already gotten to Eva. So because I'm on 56, I don't know what's going on with Eva. I'll find out and I'll talk about it in the next video. But Tenma eventually gets with the lawyer that was supposed to defend him, and the lawyer tells him, my dad was a spy, but it's all about a notebook. Roberto wants that notebook. So Tenma and the lawyer go to the lawyer's house. It's trashed because Roberto was looking for it. But Roberto knew that Tenma would be there, so he left a letter where he pretended to be Eva, but Tenma knew because Tenma knows Eva's handwriting. And the next destination is the Rose Mansion. Now Nina has been on this very odd journey where she is trying to recollect her memories about all the experimentations and whatnot. And what I like about this part of the series is that they know how to nail and make it creepy, because Monster is a master series when it comes to being creepy and unsettling. Some series or movies, even outside of anime that I've watched, they can't nail horror. They can't nail psychological thrillers. It comes out bad, but Monster can nail it. And so Anna, we get these disturbing scenes where Anna is slowly recollecting her memories of what happened back then, what led to her shooting Johan in the face. Now Grimmer, I love Grimmer's character. I love Grimmer. It was very amusing seeing what he was all about, Grimmer was another experimentation from the orphanage. As a result, Grimmer never learned emotions. He had to be taught how to smile, but he was never taught any other emotions. This is why he's always smiling, because he doesn't know how to react to things, and so he just puts on a smile. That's why when he got ripped off at the train station, he didn't mind, because he didn't know how to react to it. So he ends up getting back with Tenma. And before that, he's also with Detective Sook. They get stuck in that house where they're being targeted by the secret police yet again, like I was talking in the last video. And Detective Sook gets sniped 3 times. They're surrounded. There's no way out. Grimmer starts to lose his mind, and once again he becomes a magnificent Steiner, and he brutally starts beating everybody. I really want to know what happens when Grimmer reaches this type of transformation, because they haven't shown it yet. They only show the aftermath. But Grimmer and Tenma begin to bond over one of the kid, Milos, I think. There's this horrifying episode where Johan, acting as Nina, mind breaks one of these poor kids and tells him, he's like, yeah, you're looking for your mom, but does she really want you? Were you really wanted? Did she want you to be born? And Milos is, of course, he's happy because he's like, yeah, I'm looking for my mom. I bet if I see her, she'll recognize me. And Johan is like, well, what if she doesn't want to recognize you? And starts asking him these questions, such as, like, what is your reason for being alive? And just starts mind breaking Milos and sends him off to this very degenerate part of the degenerate city. Milos goes there. First thing he meets is this guy and this man, and he tells the man, I'm looking for my mother. And the man just teases him, jokes at him, makes him feel bad. Milos runs into the women that work in the corner in the streets. One of them pretends to be his mom and then shows him aside and says, no, I will never be this kid's mom. And then in one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen in anime, Milos runs into a teacher in an alley that's about to have sex with one of the women that's there. He already paid her. She's against it. She tells him there's a kid there he's watching, and the teacher tells Milos to watch, and he does the dirty deed, pays Milos. At this point, Milos is broken. He recognizes that he's not gonna find his mom. He was probably never wanted, never loved, so he has no reason to live. Like Johan told him, everybody just dies someday, and that is the one thing that Milos tries to do. And that's when Grimmer and Tenma make it up to this point, because they're looking for him. They find Milos standing on top of a bridge, and Grimmer tells him. And I like how they use detail in animating Grimmer here. And Grimmer is trying his best to get to Milos, gets to him, and takes him off the bridge. Now, up to this point, Grimmer had a problem. He doesn't know how to react to things, and he often asks Tenma, how should I be reacting? And Tenma will tell him, and he'll remind Tenma again, I don't know what to do because I haven't been taught emotions. All I know how to do is smile. So he saves Milos. Milos has this expression on his face that he's obviously in a really bad state. Smashes a moss, and Grimmer tries to comfort him, tells him that, no, you know what? And Grimmer has no idea what Johan told him, but Grimmer had enough sense to tell Milos that you are wanted. You were born because somebody wanted you to be born. And Grimmer starts crying. So he tells Tenma, how should I be reacting to this, as he's hugging Milos. And Milos hugs him back because he needed to hear those words because Johan had broken him so much. And so Tenma tells him, yeah, you should cry. So Grimmer starts crying. But because Grimmer never learned how to cry, because he never knew these kind of emotions, he doesn't know if he's crying. And he asks Tenma, what expression am I showing right now? And Tenma says, you're crying. So Grimmer, I love, it's tragic, his story, but I really love how he develops in this way. It's incredible development, in my opinion. Eventually, Grimmer decides to take the fall for Detective Sook and tells Tenma, here, turn in this letter. I'm gonna go on the run because the detective Suck is innocent and should be freed. Tenma tells it's against it, but Grimmer says that first and foremost, Grimmer doesn't exist. It's a name that was given to him. Grimmer does not know his real name, and he doesn't mind being on the run, and so he leaves. But Tenma tells him, hey, in the beginning, we made a promise to each other, and I want us to have this picnic, like we promised we would, with the cheese and the all that and the food and the drinks and all that. And Grimmer says, yeah, one day, and he leaves. And that's have not seen Grimmer since, and I hope that he comes back. Now, Lunge, as I said earlier, he's breaking out of his delusions. He understands now that Johan is there, and that is his new mission. What I found really funny is how he is supposedly on a vacation, and he uses it to his advantage. Because he is still investigating, he is still working. And when other detectives try to collaborate with him, and it's not to his advantage, he'll just remind them, yeah, actually I'm on vacation. But he's not. And you can tell because in the beginning, he's having a coffee. He says, oh, you know what, I'm on vacation, so I'm gonna get a beer. Then he starts to find information about Johan, the Rose Mansion, more developments. And Lunge sees that he's missed the whole picture. There's a whole truth, there's a whole reality out there that he was not seeing. And you can tell when he makes the phone call and he tells the waiter, you know what, I ordered a beer, but give me a coffee. That's when you knew that Lunge is back. The vacation is just a facade. He is on the go. He's going to find Johan, and that's his goal. But I'm concerned, like I said earlier, because Lunge is getting into a lot of trouble. He was already warned he might die. But he finds the secret of the Rose Mansion, breaks down the wall. I really can't wait to see. I love Lunge. Lunge is one of my favorite characters. Grimmer's one of my favorite characters. I really can't wait to see what happens with these two. They're both going to end up confronting Johan. They have to. Now, Eva at this point feels that Tenma ruined her life. And so to get Tenma back, she wants him to be in prison forever and refuses to testify because she saw Johan. The counselor tried to plead with her. You're the witness that we need. You must testify. She said no because Tenma must rot for what he did to me because he ruined my life because she's still a miserable alcoholic. But she has a change of heart because she starts to remember the times that she was with Tenma, and she realizes that the problem was her. Because Tenma was always cheery, optimistic, always smiling, always being nice to her, and she was always rude and crude and stubborn and evasive. It culminated to the part where they're having a picnic, and Eva's like, what is this? Because she's spoiled and rich. And Tenma's like, oh, I put down a blanket, I got a rock right here so it won't blow away, I got sandwiches, a thermal with drinks, let's enjoy ourselves. And Eva doesn't want to do it. She moves the rock away. The wind comes by and blows everything to the floor, the sandwiches, everything. Tenma picks up the sandwich and says, oh, they're all dirty, but he's still smiling. But Eva can see it, that even though Tenma is smiling, there is a sorrowful feeling to it, that Tenma is putting up with her, but Tenma is trying to see the best in it. So Eva felt so much guilt. And then there was a kid that offered her a sandwich when she went to that same spot, and right then and there she decided that, after some convincing from the lawyer, that she will help Tenma. Unfortunately for her, undercover Roberto is after her, and so I think actually got to her. And I like how Monster executed that scene where Eva is just being hunted and she's scared, she's paranoid, they're playing creepy music and she's on the run, but she gets cornered at home. And right now I don't know what's going on with Eva. And Dieter unfortunately got shoved to the side. Poor Dieter. So I think that's all I got. I think I'll make one more video for the next 10 episodes, and then one last video for the last 10 episodes, and that should be it for Monster. At the end, I do want to address that video. I mean that 1 out of 10 review. I kind of addressed it now, but like I said before, I have to finish the series before I do that. Now, Mr. Shual was Wade Marget, who apparently is the mother of the twins. So that's something that was sort of talked about, but it was just subtly brought up. Now, what happened to Otto? Did Otto stay behind? I completely forgot about Otto. I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about. Let me just make sure. But this is the end, though. I think Milch. We talked about Milch. Yeah, Monster has a long series of characters, but like just how Legend of the Galactic Heroes does it, a lot of them are very well written. Ooh, I remember the John Suk's mother, but there really isn't much to say about her. She had that tape because they were over that tape that eventually Johan found and recorded over and whatnot. That's the Monster, episodes 44 through 56. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next Monster video.